Hello and welcome to another edition of Community Forum. My name is Joseph Feaster and I am the host. And today I think I'm going to coin the show the Joe Show. We're having an opportunity to speak to a person who has been a major player in the town of Stoughton for many, many years, having served on the Board of Selectmen as a chairman on a number of occasions. In fact, he was the chairman of the board or a member of the Board of Selectmen, I can't remember which, when I first arrived in this town back in 1998. But nonetheless, that person really needs no introduction. Those of you who have lived here in this town and have watched this program and have seen him in action know that I can only be speaking about the other Joe in town, and that's Joe Mokrisky. So Joe, welcome.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here with you. It's the first show we've done together.
Oh yeah, it is. And in terms of hopefully it'll be one, as we were talking about earlier, they'll play on YouTube and we get all the hits will be just like some of the rock stars.
Well, I can guarantee you it's going to be memorable.
Yeah. You know, and what we agreed to do was to have a far-ranging conversation. Mm-hmm. You know, we both have been involved in activities here in the town in several different capacities. You know, you've done the events committee, you've been on the Board of Selectmen, you're currently a member of the Board of Selectmen. I've been involved in a town meeting, I've been an interim town manager. But a lot's been going on, and the most recent weeks have been, you know, quite involved, not only nationally, but here right in Stoughton. And I want to start with the elephant that's in the room. And the elephant in the room has been, everyone was looking towards this past Tuesday Board of Selectmen meeting where there had been a letter that had been generated which said the Board of Selectmen were going to be looking to remove the town manager for cause. It didn't happen. There was another discussion that took place. I want you to start there because notwithstanding that direct issue, if we start to harken back to other types of things that have gone on, we had the chief of police issue. We had the issue up at the golf course. We have the issue involving the human resources director. We have the issues, just had the issues around the debt exclusion. So there's a lot that's going on in the town. Run with it.
Oh, where to start? Well, you know, as you say, the elephant in the room. There have been, me included, members of the Board of Selectmen who think that the town manager can do a better job and feel that he's falling short in many areas. The way it was handled, you know, it just was a timing issue. The town manager went on vacation. The chair had sent a letter out to him that it was going to be acted on the 12th. But, you know, and again, as I brought to the chair's attention, it's pretty unfair to say to the town manager, you know, you had your 2 weeks on vacation, you're due back Monday, Tuesday, we may fire you. You know, so the extension was given to the town manager, to go to another meeting, and then that letter went out, and the chair, I don't know who was notified of what. So, you know, if you're going to do something like that, you know, you do it with a full voting board. Whether you agree with any one selectman's point of view or not, they've been elected by the same people that elect us, and that's something that's so big that it should be done with a full board so that, you know, everyone can be heard. But whether that is, I've said consistently since I come back onto this board with Mr. Hartman, is that I believe Mr. Hartman has the ability to be one of the best we've seen come through the door. He's got a lot of talent, but he doesn't use it effectively. I have questioned him on numerous occasions. Communication. It's been a past practice of the Board of Selectmen that the chairman of the Board of Selectmen, that the town manager provide a weekly report to the Board of Selectmen as to the doings of his office. That is contained in the town charter. That is the power of the Board of Selectmen to ask that of the town manager. Now, I don't know when you were interim if you did that as well. You did, okay? Mm-hmm. So it seems that this is the only town manager that's come in that hasn't done it. When Frank Crimmins came in, it was a novel. I mean, that he would do like 15, 20 pages every week, and that was, if anything, too much information. And because, you can start to get glassed over. So I had T.J. Recupero and Bob O'Regan opposed the town manager doing this report. They said all we have to do is come and talk to him. But you don't get the kind of information that you need on these different departments. And it's very uncomfortable for us, an elected official, a selectman, to be at Shaw's or wherever we're shopping now, to them to say, what's going on with this issue? I heard about this, and you don't know about it. I mean, we are supposed to know what's going on. So to his credit and to Selectman O'Regan's credit, they finally agreed, and we did get the town manager to do a bi-weekly report. It wasn't that I wanted a weekly report, because to the point, we could go ask the town manager these questions if we wanted to. So a weekly report, I think, is too much.
And just harking back, again, I gave reports. I can't say whether they're weekly, bi-weekly. I don't recall that, but nonetheless, there was the communication that took place with the Board of Selectmen in a written form, at least each and every Board of Selectmen meeting. I'll put it that way.
Right, and that's the way it should be. So we finally got it, but we had to vote that. Okay. People have talked about this in this meeting, some of the supporters, which it was one news article talks about the residents that came forward to speak in support of the town manager. I believe there were 3 residents that spoke in favor of him and 3 members of the school committee. So it's funny how the media plays these things up too, to make it look different. But I believe Mr. Hartman knows what he's doing, but I just have some serious problems with his management style. And that's me personally, Joseph. Let's get this going back and forth.
Well, I think that, granted, I wanted to, because that issue played out as it did. I couldn't go anywhere whether I took the commuter rail in town or not, running into people. Are you going to the meeting on the 12th? Was the inquiry? Are you going to get involved with that particular issue? So I just wanted to give our viewing audience an opportunity to know what did happen, because a lot of people didn't watch the meeting on the 12th, and so therefore they heard about it and then there was no more.
Right.
But more importantly, I think the issue transcends the issue of the town manager in the sense of how are we going to continue to get Stoughton on the move? We have a lot of things that we're looking to do. There is, I believe that the state budget has been passed and we've rolled out the monies that are going to be coming to the town under the appropriate municipal appropriations. We have certain things that we've been seeking with respect to issues in terms of transportation and otherwise that may come into play. We have the question. Well, we had the question and it was voted affirmatively in order to the debt exclusion for the schools. So we're looking at a new high school. How are the selectmen going to take their leadership role in moving that? Because that's who we have to look to. We have to look to the selectmen for this. So what type of leadership are you going to be providing in that regard, Joe?
Well, as you know, and this was pointed out by at least 2 members of the school committee at the meeting when they were speaking in favor of the town manager, is the town manager is equivalent to our CEO. And we're the board of directors. But when you have no communication with the CEO and the chairman of the board of directors, that's not a good start. Okay, I believe, and the town manager has said this to my face, he does not want us in the building. And I understand where he's coming from. I don't want you here telling me what to do day to day, do what you do. But when I need information, you better respond to it and you better show us what you're doing. Okay, a good CEO communicates what he's doing in the company. Now, this is one example. A few weeks back, the town manager came to us with the DPW superintendent and dropped a $700,000 deficit in the trash account on our laps with no plan of how he's going to address this. He said because the selectmen are the only ones that can raise rates. We pay the town manager and the DPW superintendent to do the job. Now, I'm not going to label this on the new DPW superintendent, and I don't know what involvement John had with it, with John Batchelor when he was the superintendent. But $700,000 doesn't happen overnight. It happens over a few years. I would have expected our CEO to come in and say, we have a $700,000 projected deficit in the trash account. The selectmen are the only ones that can raise these rates. What I recommend is that over the next 3 years, we increase this amount of money so that we can close that deficit. He didn't do that. He leaves it up to the selectmen. That's not what a CEO does, okay? A problem I have, real big problem, is a few months back, the 3 big unions and a letter of support from the school department, teachers association, voted no confidence in the town manager. Now, some of it I know what's fueling of it, but others I don't. The CEO of our corporation had the 3 big unions that work under the municipal side of government, police, fire, and public works, voted no confidence. He has never, ever addressed it or even acknowledged that it happened. And when they were there, he spent time on his phone. He couldn't face them. That's not the message I want from my CEO. So all these people that talk about the CEO and board of directors, I get it. I agree. The town manager has said that I'm probably one of the selectmen that spends the least amount of time in town hall. I got a job. I don't need to be up here telling him what to do. Okay? But when you're not fulfilling those roles, I find it difficult for members of the school committee to come in and tell me what I should know about the town manager. It's like me going and saying to them, Dr. Rizzi should be fired, because the conversations I've had with her have been negative. I don't deal with her every day. I'm not going to judge whether she's doing her job or not. That's the school committee's job. Not once in my 15 years on this Board of Selectmen have I ever gone to a school committee member and told them how they should act on school issues, ever.
Let me bring up a few more items since we're talking about that relationship, and we can put it in a context, because I think that oftentimes the viewing public doesn't look at it in that business sense of a board of directors and a CEO. Mm-hmm. We look at it in a political context, mm-hmm. but we don't look at it because the town is a business. When I was there, that's how I saw it. My orientation is towards, and when I was interim town manager, that it's a business, and it's a matter of bringing in and working with both upline to the Board of Selectmen and as well downline to the employees who report to you. But let's talk about a few other issues which I know were on the table. One, the permanent police commissioner. Mm-hmm. What's going to happen at the as far as the vendor at the up at the golf course, and the one you and I had worked on, at least when with the Stoughton Redevelopment Authority, and we came over, had the conversation, and that's the depot. What's happening?
You know what's happening at the depot? A big fat zero. Okay, and I sent a letter to Jonathan Ehrlichman, who's our legal counsel in Boston from the KP Associates, and the town manager didn't know what was going on with it. We had that town meeting in October, got the funding, nothing has happened. Right now, the town manager's answer to me Tuesday night was, it's still, the T's options are still being reviewed, and Jonathan doesn't have an answer yet. I'll call and I'll get back to you. You know, he said right away or something, I'll get back to you tomorrow, something like that. I haven't heard anything. But again, what I've done is, because I believe in it, and Selectman O'Regan agrees with me, is that is a major asset to the future of downtown. We've had this conversation, but here we go again. Too many things are falling through the cracks. So don't tell me you're a great CEO and why we need to keep him for all these great things that, I've also, I guess we'll address it later. These are the things that just keep multiplying. It's like we're throwing more logs on the fire. We are underfunded. We had a nice conversation the other night about staffing for town services, police, fire, things like that, through a plan that Selectman O'Regan's working on, which I think is an interesting plan. It sparked a great debate and great conversation. It wasn't even a debate, it was a conversation. And I think it has a lot of potential. So we were talking about that, but I asked the question, where are we at with fire department staffing levels? I said, we're at 1987 levels or whatever. And the town manager said, yeah, we're probably right about the 1987, 88 levels. Well, you're the CEO. What are you doing about it? Since he's been here, I've never heard him talk about a plan to bring our public safety services in line with what the ISO insurance ratings request and what police associations, national, and then the NFPA for fire standards. We're not in compliance or not compliance, there's no compliance, but their recommendations for what we need for services in a town our size. That's what our CEO should be doing. So where is it? We're still working on a fire station built in 1927 is our principal fire station, with very little money ever put into it. Now,
well, that was one of my major pet peeves.
And we talked about that. So
yes.
I'm not going to lay the blame solely on Mr. Hartman, because he's been here a short time. But I am going to say that it doesn't excuse you from trying to do something now. Other town managers were doing some things. There were some studies going on. As you know, they floated around. But in Stoughton, we study things and we spend $35,000 and they become great bookends.
Well,
what, you know.
well, again, and I know the members of the fire department definitely know in terms of that was one of my pet peeves, and one of the things we were able to do, and I thought that repair work was going to be done because we had the monies appropriated to do some things on Station 1 because we recognized the deplorable conditions that they were operating under, and to me, we were lucky as a town that we weren't sued by those firemen for the types of conditions they were under. Exactly. So they tolerated it, and we put in place in terms of the money. Are you saying to me that no repairs have been made there in there in terms of, we talked about the bathrooms, the areas where they sleep? None of that's been done, Joe?
Very little of it has been done. What happened was that money item that was done, they went in and they said, well, we can't do this, we can't do that, we can't do this. All the important areas. This is what I'd say, Joseph. Want to do an interesting show? And people say, politics, it's just the fire department screaming, yelling, and playing politics. Well, listen, if anyone knows my relationship with the fire department, it wasn't always rosy. I mean, it was not, because I would just say things in what I believed. But I'll tell you right now, in my opinion, our fire department is being screwed. I've been lucky enough, and I value my friendship with Victor Melendi's widow, Carol. I adore her. We've spent time sitting over, at Starbucks having, it's a refreshing drink. We've sat at her house talking, and I still feel we're doing a dishonor to the memory of Victor Melendi when we did that study and exposed all these things that need to be fixed, and nothing's been done with it. It's a paperweight.
Well, what can we do now? I mean,
but see, this is what now. Here we go, Joseph. I agree. What can we do?
Well, see, in terms of mine, I mean, I put a stake in the ground when I was interim town manager because I felt responsible for those persons who worked for me.
Thank you.
Okay.
So what would you have done in a case of 3 unions coming and saying no confidence? Wouldn't you have said, listen, let's see if we can talk about it? This is what we're not doing.
Well, that aside, Michael has his own style, and that's fine. But I mean,
but I'm glad that you kind of agreed with what I was saying. Almost.
My sense is listen, it wasn't rosy when I was sitting there as interim town manager either. With whom the people I had to deal with. I had to deal with folks. Joe, and I was saying earlier, I even had the one where folks said I was going downtown and that I was taking the commuter rail downtown in order to do my law practice, and I had to go and defend myself by in terms of giving what Mark my schedule, and that went away. But people will make the allegations or make the statements that they want, particularly when they can do these things without their names on it. But if you're confronted by it, you have to do it, and we're going to have a conversation about something that mentions your name that somebody else wrote to someone else. But we'll talk about that during the program. This is the thing too,
Joseph. You're right. Yes. You're 100% right. But that's what a CEO does. You take on these issues. You don't let them just flap out in the wind. We have too many open subjects in the town. Now, former Selectman John Anzavino read a letter the other night in support of the town manager, and he read the letter and said that it comes from some. I forget if it's senior level or some long time or town department heads, but their names weren't on it. To me, if you're going to read a letter and say that these guys think he's a great, why would they be afraid to put their name on the letter or have their name associated with it? So these are the things that we do in Stoughton, just like that. You'll love this, and I'm going to bring this up now. Is people have talked about it. It was brought to my attention before I sat down here. The people talking about. My son Brian, my youngest one, is being taken in through the process to be appointed a police officer in Stoughton. As a father, Joseph, as you would know, I am so proud of my son. He's done everything he's done in his life without me. The only thing that I can say I've helped is my son and I are like this. I mean, we have a bond that I would hope and pray every parent has with their child. And I'm so proud of him. And he decided he wanted to go into the military, which of course, any parent says, has that, and you're like, well, and he said, Dad, it's something I want to do. He wanted to go into the reserves, and you just have a fear of him being called up and the sacrifice that other families have paid, and young men and women. And but I was proud of him, like I was with my older son, who did 2 years in the Navy as an MP at Guantanamo Bay, and the stories he told me about some of those things. But so now, of course, my son, for the record, has gone through 2 accredited police academies in Stoughton, that are accredited by the state. He's now he's a member of the Norfolk County Sheriff's Department. He's an MP in the Taunton Military Unit, he's been there 4 years, and he holds the top PT score of his unit, which is about 80 men. He's been asked by his commander of his military unit to represent his unit at Fenway Park and at the Congressional Medal of Honor winners dinner in Boston last year. So I think my son is on his way to being, you know, a well-groomed young man and to have a hell of a career in front of him. He chose to serve his community as a police officer. And I'm so proud of him because I don't make money off this. At least when you were getting talked about, you were making some pretty good money. But we don't get paid for this.
That's
but
right.
Yet we're accused of everything under the sun. I've been here 15 years. I've never been sued by anyone. I've never gone to court. I've never had charges taken out on me. I've never had an ethics commission investigation on me. If anything, I reported myself to the ethics commission one year because people questioned me, and I got the ruling back that I had not violated the law.
Oh, but Joe, you know what those things are. The fact that you've been exonerated means absolutely nothing.
It doesn't mean nothing. You don't read about that.
Yeah,
you know,
that's right.
You don't read about that.
That's right.
But there are other people here that have been involved, and there are other people. There are department heads that have had charges taken out on them. But you know, what's the difference of my son Joseph than any other young man or woman in Stoughton who are being interviewed for the police department?
He's your son.
He's my son, right? That's not fair. That's not fair to my son. You know, and as I said in a meeting the other night, anybody comes after one of my family members, I will refinance my house and come at you with everything I have. That's what you would do for your family members,
there's
too.
absolutely no question
I'm
about
fair
that.
game. You want to talk about me? Fine. Leave my son out of it. I would ask that every parent challenge their son to make them as proud as mine has me, because I know he's got a hell of a career in front of him. Stay out of the process.
Well, I would hope that one would not be disingenuous like that and take whatever personal issues that they have with you. If your son is qualified, he ought to be able to be considered on his own merits, and it sounds like to me he is very meritorious in terms of being in that position. So I hope that the outcome is favorable. Is it Brian? Is your son's
Yes.
name?
Yeah.
That your son Brian is favorable. As you know, my son is deceased. And,
Yes.
but in terms of, as you've talked about it, maybe it's the Joseph thing, whatever. I can tell you it's the same attitude that I profess. If you come after the family, you've crossed the line, that you're not going to be able to go back across it, and I definitely can respect the fact that you would feel that strongly about that.
Yeah.
But
well, let me tell you, because there is another part to that, and it is that because one thing, you know, everybody looks at social media now. I mean, if you don't, you're way behind the times, and that's what I know about you. You honor your son's memory every day.
Yes.
You know, so I know what you do. I mean, it's not something that's tragic we forget. You honor your son's memory every day of your life. I had a gentleman come to me at a meeting. It was the swearing in of the new fire chief. And we were in where the hors d'oeuvres were, and we were just talking. And he said, "Hey, can I talk to you for a minute over here?" And I said, "Yeah, what's up?" He's, "No, over here, you know, so I don't want anybody to hear us talking." I said, "Okay, you know, I can understand that." And he said, "Geez, I just wanted to bring a rumor to your attention." He said that I didn't think was nice at all, and you should know about it. And I said, "Well, what's that?" He goes, "Well, it's about your son." And I said, "Oh yeah, I know that rumor." I said, "That was started by former Selectman John Stagnoni when he put it on Facebook, and he accused me of just trying to take care of family and friends. But John's smart. John's not a dumb guy. He didn't come out and mention my son. But the only thing that I would be involved with ever of family or friends is that my son is going through this process." So we had our exchange. So I said to this person, "No," I said, "that was started by John Stagnoni. That's water under the bridge." And he said, "No, this is a new one." He said, "The rumor is you're going to exchange your vote, your second vote to me, in exchange for a position for your son on the police department." Now, who made that statement? You're going to switch your second vote to me in exchange for an appointment to your son on the police department. Who made that statement? Michael Hartman. Okay? Michael Hartman said that to me. Said, "You're going to change, the rumor is you're going to change your second vote to me in exchange for a position for your son on the police department."
Well, since we're into rumors, and I'm usually one, I don't carry rumors.
Can we finish?
Yeah.
Let's finish this one, right?
Let's finish it. I'll give you
this
the other
one,
one.
right? Finish this one. The rumor is, okay, why would the CEO of our company, our top town manager, even repeat a rumor to me of that nature? Now, he said he just thought I should know about it. I'm sorry, I don't take it that way, and you can't help how people take things. I take it as he was sending me a message, you know, which he also said, no, he said, "That's not the case at all." He says, "Because as you know," which is true, "as you know, every time the police department sends a list, I appoint who they want because they do the extensive background." So when you talk about trust issues, How does a man who's so proud of his son not feel like he's just had a message sent to him by the person who should know how touchy a comment like that is? You know, this is the stuff that fuels you. And not to say that it's personal, but it sure as hell breaks down the trust lines when you want to give somebody the benefit of a doubt, because things like that stick in your mind. It's very political, and we need to end the politics. So on with yours.
Well, I mean, the rumor that floated to my ears, and it has always been my position, I don't start rumors, and I definitely don't carry rumors. If they come, they land here, and this is where they rest. But this one, since you bring it up in terms of rumor, the rumor that was out there that I heard was, oh, well, you know, yes, Mokrisky's going to vote to remove the town manager so he can step in and be town manager.
Well, as you know,
yeah.
As you know, when you step in to be the town manager, you can't take a paid salary for 6 months after you leave the Board of Selectmen. Okay? And I'll tell you one thing, I would do the job for free, just so I don't violate the law. But it's the position, you can't do it. Okay, so these are uninformed, ill-informed people and uninformed issues.
Well, see,
vice versa.
But see, again, I raised that with you because most of the time, those who spread rumors like that are uninformed.
Well, here's a nice segue.
Yeah.
Here's a nice segue, because there are people, and I guess I'm flattered that some people think I am the God Almighty powerful person of the town of Stoughton, when I sure as hell don't feel that way. I mean, I give everybody the benefit of the doubt. I work with everyone. There is an element of people that say that Mokrisky wants to get rid of the town manager. He just hates him and wants to get rid of him. He came into office to get rid of the town manager, as some people have said. Well, my first year on the board, I was pretty much disappointed in the way things were being run. My first year on the board, and I spoke up about it, but never had just differences of opinion with the town manager. That's okay. That's good debate. Well, then I became chairman, and we still had these issues, and I feel the town manager hadn't done things right. I feel that the town manager could have been written up for things. Never once did I ever bring up anything that talked about getting rid of the town manager and or giving him a letter of discipline or putting him out on paid leave or a suspension. Not once, ever, did I do that. If anything, I took heat from town employees who were not happy, that felt that I was letting them off easy. And I said what I want to do is work with him. What has been said publicly, and the town manager and Mr. Kelly, the HR director, they would be lying if they disagreed with me, is that I had said in public meetings, I'm trying to be a part of your team. I believe a member of the Board of Selectmen's job is to encourage the town manager, support the town manager, challenge him and his staff, and give them the tools to do the job through the policies that we set. Okay? It's not that way. It's us against them. That was in the town manager's evaluation that was done a couple of years ago. And then Selectman O'Regan and Selectman Coleman were supposed to get back and come up with some new goals for the town manager to take into consideration that review. Town managers never acted on it either. Now, if you got an evaluation you felt was, and somebody asked you tonight about self-evaluations, I mean, you can do a self-evaluation, that's great. But why did, I would rather the town manager say, well, this selectman's got a problem maybe for the following reasons. Let's have that dialogue. But he hasn't stepped up to the plate either. So it's like you were riding under the radar a little bit there, and I don't want them in my backyard, but I'm sure as hell not going to tell them what I'm going to do either.
Well, I know we're going to get to that letter, but I want to take care a little bit of the persons who support this program, and I want to get their advertisements up here. So
they'll be pulling those advertisements after today.
Take a drink of water, hold on to that letter, and we'll be right back in a moment.
Hi, it's Gary LaPierre, and the crew wants to thank Maxie's Delicatessen. That's at 117 Sharon Street in Stoughton. They're 781-341-1662. American Cancer Society, yes, they're looking for volunteers. Drive cancer patients to and from their treatments. 1-800-ACS-6662, or just go to www.cancer.org. Ilsa Mark's Food Pantry in St. Anthony's Free Market, 2 Park Avenue in Stoughton. For more information, call Christine Gallagher. That's at 781-341-0611. or 781-341-0549. Meals on Wheels. Just ask for Jessica. You'll find her at 781-344-8882, extension 2. Stoughton Penny Saver. Our business is advertising your business, they tell us. 27 Rose Glen Street, Stoughton, 781-344-4833. Community Forum showtimes in Stoughton. It's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at 6 p.m., Monday at 8 p.m., Tuesday at 5 p.m. It's on Comcast Channel 9 and Verizon Channel 28. All comments and suggestions welcome. Contact us at communityforum1@yahoo.com. Community Forum showtimes in Easton. Mondays at 9 p.m., Tuesday at 8 a.m., Wednesdays 3 p.m., Saturday 10 a.m. And that too, Comcast Channel 9, Verizon Channel 22. Samaritans, they're at 41 West Street on the 4th floor in Boston, 02111. Their phone number is 617-536-2460. 24-hour helplines for Samaritans, and the number is 877-870-HOPE. That's 877-870-4673. Samaritans, you can find them at 800-252-TEEN. That's 252-8336. Or find them online at SamaritansHope.org.
Stoughton's own farmers market has already begun. It's every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. during now through October 1st. It's on the Stoughton Center Church Green at 790 Washington Street, and they have fresh produce, breads, pastries, meats, and much more. They even want you to get out there and listen to a little bit of live music. They have weekly giveaways, and of course, there's plenty of places to park. So come on out, support this effort. This has been something which has been going on for a number of years. Want your support, but remember, no pets per our Board of Health. Monday night bingo at Avatar Torah Congregation at 1179 Central Street in Stoughton. Doors open at 4:30 p.m. Game starts at 6:30 p.m. Go out, have fun, support a great cause. Get Fresh, Stoughton's own cooking show featuring ingredients from the Stoughton Farmers Market. New episodes are coming up soon, and you can see them on Comcast Channel 9 or Verizon Channel 28, Mondays at 5:30 p.m., Wednesday at 8 p.m., Thursday at 9 a.m., and Fridays at 5 p.m. Remember, get fresh with Stoughton's own cooking show. And now, Joe, we're back. We're, I'm really pleased that that you were willing to come on, and I just want to say, for folks, this isn't staged, this isn't planned, this isn't Feaster and Mokrisky trying to make a point. It's important when there are issues that are affecting a community that you have an opportunity to discuss them. And I'll say right now, if anybody else feels that way, that this is some way conjured up or staged, fine. Call up Roy Cohen, the producer, and you can come on the show.
Right.
But I don't want to hear the whispers because, see, now it becomes personal because I'm not a town official. So if you make the whispers personal, I know you made the whispers, you have to deal with me personally. Right. And I'm a New York kid. Mm-hmm. So therefore, you got to deal with me on that particular level. We don't need to have that. So if you think that there's something that you don't like what was done today, with Joe Mokrisky and I having the conversation about these issues, I am happy to have you on this program.
There you go.
Before we took a break there, Joe, we were going to be talking about, because you had mentioned to me a letter that had come into your possession. That's our way, we'll say it the lawyerly way.
Right.
That came into your possession that made certain comments about this process and all about you. And I think you gave me an opportunity to glance at it. I don't know if you want to read maybe it's worth reading the thing or paraphrasing. It's up to you exactly how you want to handle it. So go ahead.
It just kind of shows what we're against in Stoughton. Instead of people calling you out personally and say, I'd like to talk to you about these issues, we're in a mode now in, I think, government across the country. And it's, you start to wonder if it's government by the people, or if it's government by the special interest groups and, people that have a political agenda. I mean, what's a political agenda? We all have them. When you started as the interim town manager, you were there with a political agenda to make a difference in the following areas, which is commendable. That's what you're supposed to do. Everybody on the Board of Selectmen individually has a political agenda to make a difference. You know, how we get there is what it's all about. And I've always said to people, don't talk about me, talk to me. Don't make allegations that you can't back up with facts. And I mentioned that again the other night, because the late, great Margaret Fitzpatrick was our town clerk in Stoughton for a lot of years. I met her after she had retired, and I said, boy, Margaret, would I love to talk with you sometime and just pick your brain. The things you must remember. And she said, Joe, I'll tell you, at my age, it'd be a very short meeting. She says, but I will instill these words of wisdom on you. She goes, Stoughton always has and always will eat its own. And boy, did she ever have that right. Somebody talked about the other night about the horrible articles about the town of Stoughton in the Boston Globe. And they said, please don't let us go down that road again. Well, some of those people that make those statements are as guilty as anyone else, because they bring things up and they make it look political instead of sitting down and talking to somebody. The two greatest leaders in my lifetime were Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill, for their respective. I didn't agree with Ronald Reagan on a lot of issues. I'm a Democrat. But Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan had the best relationship. And I have a photo, framed photo that I keep of them in the White House talking. And that's what it's about. They disagreed, but they were friendly.
Agree to disagree without being disagreeable.
We all love the town of Stoughton. Would I be doing this? Show me, and I would challenge anyone, show me where I've ever made a dime on anything that I've ever done, in the town of Stoughton. I mean, I don't have none of my spouses, none of my kids, but maybe soon my son, but don't work for the town. I don't have relatives on the town. A cousin of mine was a DPW employee that got the job again when they were civil service. As you know, an elected official can't touch the civil service process. You can't get anybody in there. It's a number, you get on the list, when your number comes up, that is. But this letter was sent to Selectman Bob Cohn from Barbara Ann Zavino, the former chair of the Finance Committee. And basically, the letter starts out with, I'm writing to you in regards to the letter to the Board of Selectmen sent to Michael Hartman stating the intent to terminate his employment, and I would like you to reconsider. Now, she says, I would like you to reconsider. Well, I guess she knows how he's voting already. So she says, you're a bright and honorable man. I've watched you for years at town meeting. I was really disappointed when Dave Souza, who was made chairman instead of you, as I believe you were a better choice. Okay, she's entitled to her opinion. I have been an active member of the Finance Committee for the last 9 years, and I've seen many town managers. In my opinion, Michael is the most professional we have had. So you're out of the running. He knows municipal law, regulations, and he's going to do what's in the best interest of the town. Well, I'll agree that he knows municipal laws and regulations. A lot of people know a lot of stuff, but do they put it to use, is my opinion. And I'll go back to the 3 major unions under the town manager's control voted no confidence, and he never even responded with can we sit down and see what we can do to make it better. He hasn't even acknowledged it happened. So she talks about when she got on the Finance Committee first, the town had $35,000 in stabilization fund. Union contracts were out of control, which that I'd like to see. I don't know what she means by out of control. And I heard you at town meeting saying we couldn't keep doing this. Michael got the personnel bylaw passed, which gives the town employees 2.5%. I know other people had something to do with that personnel bylaw. And
well, I think I hired the person who learned how to do it, and that's
exactly.
Jamie. I think I hired him because we wanted to make sure this was part of the activity. Now, I couldn't complete it because I wasn't hired as the town manager.
Well, here's the other thing, and I have to say it, is that you were put in as interim town manager, and the same group of people that put you in as the interim town manager didn't even give you a seat at this search for a new town manager, which, I mean, I cannot fathom.
Well,
if you're,
but
see, these are things that go on in Stoughton, Joseph, that people need to know.
Well,
you know it, I know it.
Well, people have to know the facts, and that's what we're talking about.
That's a fact. Well, you weren't given the opportunity to get the job full time.
No,
so
well, I didn't even make it to the finals.
Right, but it's a fact.
Yes.
Okay, so you were not given the opportunity to make it to the finals. That's a fact.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's
and
right.
The same people that supported you as interim did not support you for town manager. So a fact. All right. So of course this angered unions because she's talking about the union contracts out of control. She was the vice chair of the Finance Committee when Rick Hill wrote a letter talking about the recent contract to the school teachers being unsustainable. with the amount of money. Yet she was silent on that. Okay, so, you know, these are the things. And when her husband was on the Board of Selectmen, before the town manager, this current town manager, Mr. Hartman's contract was up, they renewed it with a raise. Isn't that, I mean, and they're talking about now, let's go through the contract. Wait, if you're not going to renew his contract, just don't renew it. But wait until it's up. Well, wait, why didn't they wait until his contract was up before they renewed it with a raise? And they're going to say, because he was threatening to leave. Well, you know, that to me is a professional way, is blackmail. You know, and I'm not going to stand for it. You want to leave? You're not making enough money? Go. You took the job at too less of an amount? That's your problem, not the taxpayers. Okay, so, you know, these are facts. And it was in this room that former Selectman Anzavino was asked if you were considering an extension of the town manager's contract, and it was not a clear no answer. 3 days later, they signed the extension. So, you know, that's a fact. And like I said, contracts were given to people with connections. I'd like to know who those people are. Again, a faceless name, right? There's nothing here. People wouldn't even bid because they knew they weren't going to get it. You know, this is fear tactics. You know, any jackass can knock over the barn door. It takes a carpenter to build one. Talk about the facts. Talk about a contract that somebody didn't get because a townie got it for more money. Well, expose that.
Yeah, well, you know, just again, in terms of timing, and I don't want to make this a counterpoint to when I was there, but the person who is now presently handling in terms of the whole contracting and now even working along with the schools.
Right.
Which is another thing where I've been hearing revisionist history that folks are claiming about they created the relationship between the town side and the school side.
Oh.
Well, that's, you know, that's totally inaccurate, and anyone can speak with the superintendent or speak with me. That was one of the first things when the night that I was appointed by the selectmen, we established a relationship. But again, it was a matter of looking at hiring good people during the interim who could carry, and we put the systems in place in every respect for how we would handle people bidding for the town. So it's in order because there's a good person that's in there who knows what she's doing.
And that's, you want the best you can get.
Yeah.
Let's get to the closing. This is said, it was funny that this is the closing of the letter, the last paragraph. It says, you have to be a voice of reason on this board. Everyone knows Joe is just interested in himself, and David Souza does whatever Joe tells him to do, which I think is beautiful. Because
well, make sure that I want the audience to know they're talking about Joe Mokrisky.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Two Joes.
Yeah, that's right. Joe Mokrisky. We'll insert Mokrisky. Everyone knows Joe. Everyone knows. Boy, I'll tell you. I wish if that was the case, I should be getting reelected time after time. I've been bounced out a few times, but Joe Mokrisky is just interested in himself, and David Souza does whatever Joe tells him. Anyone who knows David Spanky Souza knows that David Spanky Souza does what David Spanky Souza wants to do. He doesn't, you know, but you have to be one who thinks things through. Last weekend, I went to several parties in town and spoke with many people not normally involved with town politics. This was their perception of the Board of Selectmen. Many of them told me, you look like you are afraid to go against Joe Mokrisky. I mean, come on, Bob Cohn and I have had some arguments, believe me. Having watched you for so many years in town meeting, I don't think that is true. This time you need to prove you are a man of integrity and someone who considers all the facts before he makes informed decisions. This is an ill-informed letter. I mean, and what it does, it casts accusations. It casts Bob Cohn as a man who doesn't have a backbone. And that's not the case if anyone knows Bob Cohn, okay? This is the kind of crap that needs to stop in Stoughton. Barbara Anzavino is single-handedly on the Finance Committee, took upon herself to go after the police department in the last budget process. To the point, Joseph, that she walked out of 2 meetings of the Finance Committee, one Finance Committee meeting and town meeting because she was mad because she wasn't getting her way. The police department, if you review every tape, took more of an assault on their budget, this past budget process, than any town department on the municipal side of government. Okay, this has been the problem in our town government, is that it is segregated and there's little camps. So you got to just make sure you hook on to the camp with the most amount of people to get things done. The police department's budget was gone after. There have a member of the community who I adore came to the selectmen's meeting the other night and said, Paul Chastain's not coming back. You're never going to get him back. And his ego was bigger than, I forget what the description used, and the town manager told me that as well, that Police Chief Paul Chastity had a big ego. You know what I say? God bless the guy, because if every town department did what Paul Chastity and the men and women of the police department have done in the past 4 years, 5 years, with accreditation coming in way under the time that we thought it would be, I hope everybody has an ego like that. Paul Chastity should be given a trophy to put on his mantle as he goes down the road in the career. And the men and women of the department that are on the front lines right now with everything that's going on right now should be thanked for all they do, because they're not the way we used to be. But that budget took the biggest hit of political involvement that I've seen in a long time. There were people calling MHQ, which is the provider of police municipal vehicles, and asked if the pricing was correct. You know, there was another one that went out and looked at studies on what we need for law enforcement, how many cops per person. But we didn't go out and find out how many trash guys we need per container. We didn't go out to find out how many firemen we should have to a truck. We went after the police department only.
Well, let me just give my own observation with regards to, and how I describe the political, I'm going to call them, and I don't want to denigrate them, but political shenanigans that take place in town. I call it, there's the 50 people that run the town. And I say that 50 people run the town because you look at any type of board appointment, board involvement, and God bless them if they want to spend the time going to all the people, but there's about 50 people that are very active in the town. And in effect, when you're active, you have a basis for running the town. In every respect, even in the last election when we did the debt exclusion, we looked at Jeffrey Pickett and I, because we always do the program after the elections, and we noticed that in the last election about 27% of the people voted. That's out this distance. But normally, in all of the votes that take place in town, it's somewhere around 12 or 13%.
Right.
So if we think that some of these political shenanigans are going on, that things aren't happening, that there's only, as Selectman Spanky Souza says, the special people.
No, shadow government. Shadow government.
Well,
is
he
what
probably
called it.
uses both.
Yeah.
are taking over. Then I say to folks, hey, if you don't like it,
Right.
get involved. So, and so for me, and the adage I use is, if you aren't involved, you have nothing to say.
That's right.
And that's what we have here. There's such a small percentage of people who are paying attention. We can't even get 178 people on the town, for town meeting.
Well, that's, you know what,
Yeah,
most of that is about the length and the.
Don't even get me started with because I was
Yeah.
part of that reform group, and now, but the difference we got to say, we're down to 3 to 4 days
Right.
in the last two, and I think it's as a result of that movement. I was just part of it, but there's
Right.
others that spearheaded it, and everyone's, my thing is, hey, I don't keep the moderator, control the process.
Right, exactly. I agree.
Yeah,
And it
yes.
has gotten better. But
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now, once we crunched the numbers on that last election, and I know it because
Yeah.
when I went to the Gibbon School to vote, it takes me a long time to get out because that's where I was born and raised. I went to school there. I know a lot of people. But I'll tell you, I saw a lot of new people voting. And I'm going to tell you, you're going to see a lot of people that came out to vote because they want the new school.
Yes.
I'm hoping that they keep coming out.
Yes.
But it's going to be our job as elected officials and people who run to challenge those people, to drag them into the process, because we're hurting everywhere. But this is the problem, Joseph, is we bring these things out and it's personal. I mean, I disagree with John Morton. I'm going to bring up John Morton's name. We disagree on some issues. We sure as heck do. But I'll tell you, John Morton is a fair man. Where people, the two of us can come to that fence that really defines where we sit. But we can come to that fence and talk with a drink in our hand, a coffee, or we'll say a beer or whatever. But I trust him. He comes to me and he'll talk and he'll say it the way it is, and we disagree, or we've come to a mutual agreement, and we have in many issues. If it wasn't for John Morton, we would not be in the position now where we could have fought for that train station.
Right.
Because you remember those issues, and John, that's what we need more of. It's okay to disagree. We can be Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill. And the people that talk about me and want to get me out, listen, I'm not going anywhere. I mean, I've been voted out, and they keep saying, oh, he's done, stick a fork in him. And I come back the next election, or two or three elections down the road. I love my town. If you don't like me, tough. You don't have to like Joe Mokrisky. Think of what I've done. It's all about me. In this letter, it's all about me. I challenge Barbara Anzavino to do half of what I've done, to never ask for anything, and I don't get paid. When we had no 4th of July parade coming in, the events committee in 2007, I reestablished it. I went to IKEA. I got them to donate $15,000 to the fireworks, which changed everything. When we had our antique fire truck, I personally raised the money to bring that fire truck back into town. So we had something of a living piece of history. And now still work to fight for funding to keep it going and put it out on behalf of the people. Never did I ever see Bob Ranzavino offering to do anything either. You know, I'm not saying this because I'm looking to tout myself up, but don't sit there and say it's all about me when I can show you countless things that I've done that's not about me. It's making my town a better place to live. And this is the problem. When you have people like Bob Ranzavino that make statements like this and a letter like that, you're not making our place a better place to live. Because she doesn't talk to you, she talks about you. That's not right.
Let me end the program on a softer note. What I say to you as a selectman and as my leader in this town, you know, what are some of the issues that you would like to see us place on the agenda and work towards resolution? I have my own personal, as a town meeting representative, I have my own little list of what's important to you. What's important to Joe Mokrisky that you'd want to say to your 4 fellow members that you would like to see on the agenda that we can tackle as a town, which includes, because of the way the charter is written, town meeting as well? What would be the 3 or 4 top items for you?
I'll tell you, Joe, let me shrink it. There's not 3 or 4. We can't afford them. It's 1. You brought up the debt exclusion.
Yes.
Okay. That debt exclusion is going to add money to everybody's tax rate on top of the 2.5 levy limit that we go to every year. That was, you know, not part of the discussion. So it's, you know, what that amount is, it's actually more because we go up every year on top of it. We have a $700,000 deficit in the trash account. We still need firemen. We're losing money. We're losing money in the fire department because we don't man a full-time second ambulance. That funding that gets raised through that billing goes to the towns that come in and provide the service. We can make money. Our ambulance enterprise account, Joseph, back in the old days where they say all the problems were, right? We had a totally funded ambulance enterprise account that fully funded the department, and on top of that, paid for 4 firefighters' salaries and a portion of the deputy chief and the chief's salary as well. That's what our ambulance enterprise account did. Now, the new fire chief that just came in had to come in and revamp all the fees to try and get that back on track. So what we did in the old days wasn't always the bad things because we had a fully funded ambulance enterprise account. We ran 2 ambulances, and for some reason, we have no plan for that. Now, to me, that's not the selectman's job, but what I want to do to answer your question is to come up with a fully functional fiscal management plan that should be led by the town manager.
But that's by the charter.
And exactly, and the Board of Selectmen. Now, the town manager has never had a financial plan like that. Everybody puts their financial plans together like, okay, the budget was this next year, we add 2.5% to it next year, because that's what Jesus, I can do that, and I'm not a financial analyst. So we've got to come up with where are we getting our new funding from, and to credit Selectman O'Regan, he came up with a plan that addresses that. I've got some issues with it, but I don't think it's anything we can't work through. And it starts that process. So what we should be doing is a lot more of that to get these issues out there so that we can properly fund our departments. This administration has added more management positions than anybody before. They talk about the reevaluation of positions being taken out of the union. Well, they all went in with new positions with substantial raises. So, you know, people that come out of a union position and went to a non-union position, in some cases got $11,000 over the course of 3 years. That's not a fiscal management plan. That's I'm going to spend money here to get this done. You know, show me what your plan is. You know, I know we've got a grid now for raises. You know, and that's a good thing.
But that's that personal bylaw issue.
Right, that's a good thing. But when you go and pull people out of the union positions and say, because, you know, and I've got my personal opinion of that, but, you know, you put them in and you give them more money, or you create a position at the DPW of a business manager when we don't need a business manager at the DPW. They needed somebody to answer phones because that's their biggest challenge. But we put in a business manager when we defunded 2 other positions in the DPW.
One thing that concerned me, and we're coming close to the end of the hour, that's why I keep looking back. I got to keep track of the time because otherwise Roy won't have me on the program in the future. So I got to make sure I do this right. But just on the ambulance account, what I always found disturbing, and I know that this was an issue which has to come before the Board of Selectmen, just on the ambulance pieces, is we had a process which says that a resident, if they had a charge for the ambulance because they weren't covered by insurance, whatever, wouldn't have to pay for it.
Right.
And that was substantial dollars. Is that a gap or something which the selectmen are going to address?
That's going to be closed.
Okay.
Yes, and what it's going to be is what we did before, if they didn't pay, we just let them go. So if
That's
they
right.
just said, screw it, I'm not paying, we just forgot about it.
That's right.
Well, now we're going to come up with a plan that they have to show why they can't pay it.
Okay.
And that's the way it should be. But see, Joseph, we had it before. What were we doing right then that we can't do now? You know, we just have so many holes on the municipal side of government that are here. And on top of it, we just can't raise money now because what we have available to us in funds, and how much more can the residents take? They can't, I mean, we need 8 more firemen, and the police department still needs another 5 to be at their standards. I mean, where are we gonna get the money for 13 new people? We can't do it in a year. There's no way. But we should be coming up with a plan, and I believe the town manager should be leading that. He's our CEO. I keep hearing about this. Our CEO, in my opinion right now, doesn't have a plan to keep this community together. Now, I don't want to say, like some people have said, the town of Stoughton's bankrupt and all. We're not. We're not going to go bankrupt, but we're not going to be able to be proactive. Being proactive is building a new school. We need it. We took a plan and we did it. But we need to be proactive in public safety, in public works, in sanitation, in a library. Our library, getting a new building, that's not enough. Our system needs support the new building. Computers, internet access, social media, online books. There's so many more things that need to do to support a new building. I'm all for the new building. It's been there a long time. There's a lot more we can do to bring people into the process, to bring them as a part of their community.
Well,
You know?
we're about to end, Joe, and I found our conversation here quite engaging. My hope is that we can take this from talk to action.
I hope so too.
As a resident of this town, I am committed to it. That's why I invested the time in
Why don't you run
order
for
to be able to
selectman?
do that. I'm not running for anything but cover. That's the only thing
I say I'm running for my life.
Yeah, I'm running for cover. But the reality is there are other ways in which we can participate, but I think that we have to move from discussion. There are things that just seem to languish constantly. They keep coming up in their language. And so I'm just hopeful that there's a plan. I know that at the last selectman meeting on the 12th of July, a proposal was presented by Selectman O'Regan, and you and he were having a conversation, and a few of the others. And it seemed like there were some points that were well taken, but the reality was that you wanted to have further conversation. I hope you have it.
Wasn't it good? I mean,
hope
that
you
was a
can move
great
it.
conversation.
I think conversation is always good. We can
Right.
agree to disagree.
That's right.
But we don't have to be disagreeable.
And let me, with 40 seconds left as I'm watching as well,
Yes.
take this opportunity to recognize one other Stoughton resident as well as you for what you did for the train station, and it's Forrest Lindwall. Forrest Lindwall
did a
was
great
such,
job.
boy, yeoman's effort, and a very intelligent man. He knows what downtown renovations and revitalization of a community is, and together we got some things done. So
Well,
I
we had it ready to go.
It was ready to go. We may
So,
have to ask
yes.
you for some freebie law work.
All right. Well, listen, I was glad having you on, Joe.
Oh, thank you. It was a
for
pleasure.
joining me today.
Thanks for the invitation.